delusion, or we can come into reality. We say in the delusion,
what is
this is the
reality?
eternal critique.
Then what is
If we
reality?
come into reality, God is not real.
What's reality then?
The thing that you're existing in now.
But how can we measure that?
What do you mean? How can we measure reality?
Because you're
You
saying
don't think
reality
you don't think you're in reality?
well, I mean, the world is just more than just physical, just more
Sir,
than physical.
you don't think you're in reality?
We're
I
acting
can't
like
help you with that.
we're
If-
acting like so you're acting like the world is not just metaphysical either. Like
Sir, if you don't think you're real,
is a good
listen,
example.
listen.
The
If
Shroud
you
of
don't
Turin.
think you're real, if you don't think you're real, I can't help you with that.
Okay, so I'm not
sorry.
saying that we're not real. What I'm saying is you're saying this reality as if you can measure reality.
You can.
How?
You can.
Tell me how.
You can pinch yourself. You can
Atomic
slap
weight.
somebody.
Lord, it's just atomic weight.
Yeah.
Atomic weight. God damn, very
We have
simple. Atomic weight.
we have atomic. You can measure this thing, but like I said, if you don't believe that you're in reality,
I never said I didn't believe I was in reality. I asked you the
I can't help
question,
you.
how do you know you're in reality?
I just told you. I just told you. And like I said, if you don't know, it's not mine.
I never said I wasn't in reality. I never even said there was a reality. I said, how do you know
Again.
you're in reality? That was my
Again.
question.
If you don't think there's reality, sir,
I never said there wasn't.
I don't know what to tell you.
I said that we say that there's reality, but we act like that the world is not also metaphysical. And that I get that.
Sir, the world is not metaphysical because you can't
The
prove
world-
it. You don't
the
have
world-
you don't have any evidence of this metaphysical world. You don't have any evidence of this metaphysical world. You and no goddamn body else.
Okay. You definitely can prove the world is metaphysical with a microscope.
Okay, well, let me tell you
With a
something.
microscope?
Prove it. Prove it.
Did he say with a microscope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prove
With a
it.
microscope.
And then next year, I want to see you on the Nobel Prize list and on the MacArthur Genius Grant list. I think
You can
that's up
measure
to like
metaphysics with a
850,000.
microscope.
The
With
physical
no, the
world, 'cause
microscope sees the
physical
physical world, right?
the physical world is
The microscope is physical.
Whoa, I worded that wrong. You can't prove the metaphysical with a microscope, but you can show what I'm about to say. Physical alone is incomplete. So the physical world
How?
but the physical world is
No,
measurable.
how? You said the physical world is incomplete. How?
Because
Alone,
consciousness, right? Let's talk about the brain, right?
consciousness is physical, it's brain chemistry,
Yes.
brain architecture.
Yes, because the
It's
physical world
neurons.
is measurable, right? With atoms, neurons, and energy, right? Even our conscious experience, right? Thoughts, pain, love, meaning is not measurable the same way. So if consciousness is real but not fully physical, reality as we know it includes something beyond the physical.
Consciousness is physical. What are you talking about?
You said consciousness is physical?
You have a brain, right? You know, without a brain, you
Brain
don't
is-
have consciousness. So it's physical. You
You're
need a
conscious,
physical
so you can
thing
see
for the consciousness.
consciousness. You can see consciousness.
You can see a brain, can't you?
Oh my God.
Can you have consciousness without a brain?
Bro,
Can you
listen. When I see George Bush, it's on motherfucking sight. You hear me? I swear.
Hey,
I just want to
buddy.
go. I'm gonna take my earrings out, take my watch
Okay,
off. It's
so-
on sight.
Your argument is, can you see consciousness in the you said we can see consciousness because it is the brain.
It's on sight.
But we've never, as humans, we've never observed human consciousness without a brain. True, but that does not mean that consciousness is the brain.
One thing that doesn't have a brain that's conscious.
The
Name one
consciousness-
thing that's conscious that doesn't have a brain.
Okay, dependence doesn't equal identity.
Name one thing that's conscious that does not have a brain.
Okay. Because, wow. Name one thing that's conscious that does not have a brain. The soul.
You show me an X-ray of a soul.
It's on site. It's on site.
Like, do
You
you have
better
a
not
soul
never
in a
come.
test
I
jar
said,
somewhere?
The soul or mind can exist separate from the body.
Hey, you funny.
So you've seen a soul exist. I want you. You have
no,
photo
your
evidence,
question. I just answered your
empirical
question.
evidence. You don't have any evidence that a soul even exists.
Neither do you. That it don't.
Oh my!
we don't need evidence that it
That's
doesn't
the
exist.
I don't need evidence that it
evidence
do.
fallacy.
No one has proven a soul.
You're
I'm
right.
telling you, George Bush.
I agree.
It's on site. It's on site.
I agree.
I bet I never see you. I bet
I
I
agree.
never see you because it's on site.
I completely agree.
It's on site. So there's nothing for us to disprove. No one has proven that a soul exists. It's nothing. It's nothing for us to disprove.
Or prove.
It's okay. So if it's nothing to prove or prove, then why are you up
Lord,
here?
you want to know the bad thing, Lord? They've tried to prove over and over again that the soul exists, and they have failed every single time. So if the experiments keep failing, when is the likelihood that some of these people might come to the conclusion we don't actually have a soul?
And it's funny because he says there's nothing to prove, but scientists have spent hundreds of thousands, probably millions of dollars trying to prove that we have a soul, trying to prove this fucking religion. They have spent archaeologists have spent millions of dollars trying to find, so shut up, trying to find things that can prove this religion, right? You up here sounding dumb as a box of rocks, trying to prove your religion. But now you say, well, we don't need to prove anything.
You said we don't need to. Those were your words.
No, you say we don't need to prove anything.
See, I think y'all miss something when we say there's no evidence. That doesn't mean we haven't looked for it. And the fact is we have looked for it and it keeps not showing up. Every single test that we've ever done, every single experiment we have ever done has failed. It shows no evidence of a soul, not even a little bit. Nothing to keep going on for further testing. Every hypothesis, every time they have, how many times does this experiment have to fail before you say the thing that it's trying to do doesn't work?
I mean,
that's why they have to use shit
like. Isn't that the whole idea of like?
That's why they have to use shit like numerology, 10565. That says Yahweh on your DNA. That's why they have to use dumb shit like numerology because science fails them.
My argument to that statement about like the whole science fails you. If something can't be fully explained by physics or biology, it points to something beyond purely physical.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It does not point to anything purely shit.
Science explains the brain, but not why I experienced life at all.
Got it, again.
No, you experienced life because your parents was fucking one day. Do you think you would be here if your parents hadn't fucked?
I mean, I don't know where I'd be. I mean,
no, I'm asking would you be here? Would they go outside? Would you listen? Would they go outside and would you just be in a basket?
I don't know where I'd be. Could they
order a baby? Could they order a baby?
I mean, I don't know where I'd be. I can come back as a grasshopper.
Could they order a baby?
You said
could they have ordered you from a catalog or a magazine or online?
I mean, shoot. I mean, they can clone your DNA now. So I mean, who knows?
They can. They can.
Read on it.
Are you trying to have a conversation in good faith, sir?
Oh no, he's not.
I mean, I'm going off the energy, so I mean.
No, I'm asking you directly. Are you trying to have a conversation in good faith? Is that what you want to do, or do you not want to do that? Because if you don't want to have a conversation in good faith, I'll go back down to the comments and you can continue on with your goofy responses.
Where's this?
What do you want to do?
Where's this energy coming from?
I'm coming up here asking you directly because I don't want to waste my time. That's all, right?
So
I have something that I want to say to you. I have a conversation that I want to have with you. But if you don't want to engage in good faith, why would I waste my time? I mean, that's why I'm asking you. What would you like to do?
I mean, I don't know why you would want to waste your time, but I also don't know why you.
That's why I'm asking you, bro. I don't want to waste my time. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have 2 ears. I've explained it twice now, bro. Come on.
And I completely understand you, but no need to call nobody goofy.
Okay, yeah. It was a goofy response. It was a goofy response, and you know it. Okay, so you do want to Have a conversation in good faith. Fantastic. Can you define what metaphysics is, please? Like, just in your own words.
I'd say that, in my own words, that metaphysics entails of philosophy that acts about the nature of reality, things that exist beyond what you can see, touch, or measure.
Yeah, thank you, Google. Awesome.
It's not
Now,
Google.
can metaphysics be proven? Can metaphysics be proven?
There's no Google here.
I honestly don't care. Can metaphysics be proven?
I am very intelligent. I don't need Google.
Can metaphysics be proven? Can it be proven?
Oh, that's
Can it be epistemically proven?
I mean,
justified?
I mean, yes. Physical proof would be seeing, touching.
Okay, give me an epistemic justification for the metaphysical claim of a soul. Do you understand what I'm asking for?
Say that.
I can say it simpler if you'd like. I'm asking for an epistemic justification for the metaphysical claim of a soul. I can break it down if you like.
Okay. So I'm just gonna break it down in my own head. Epistemics about, I'm guessing, about knowledge.
No.
Justification is about having good reason, evidence for a belief.
An epistemic justification is like what makes a thing a thing. What evidence do we have? What evidence do we have that justifies a belief in a service? Do we have that justifies for it? What's your justification for it?
I would say
epistemically.
Okay, we're looking at this epistemically. I would say.
Do you know what that word means?
Yes. Okay. I would say that one example I would use would be our conscious experience. We all experience thoughts, feelings, self-awareness. These experiences can be.
How does the soul come from that?
I was about to give my examples. I would say our conscious experience, our moral awareness, my sense of right and wrong points to something beyond mere matter. I mean, philosophical, I guess, and historical evidence.
These are all claims. I'm asking for the justification for it.
Well, I mean, my justification was that we all experience thoughts, feelings, and self-awareness. These experiences can't be formed by neurons or chemistry alone. You feel
you're not understanding what I'm asking for, right? Yes, I understand that we have thoughts and feelings. You're saying that it's something beyond the physical, and then you're making the claim that it is a soul. I'm asking, how the hell did you get there? What is your justification for thinking that this is the only logical thing? Hello? Is anybody muting you, or what's happening here?
I'm actually thinking, because like these are not questions that you just give an immediate answer. You gotta just sit and think about it.
Okay, I'll give you 1 more minute of my time. Okay, I just picked up my wife from work, and then I'm about to go eat dinner with her.
Okay,
but I hear you on the. But listen. This is why I'm coming up here, acting this way. Because I hear you going round and round in circles about shit that you don't know anything about. When people are asking you for evidence for the claims that you're making, you're waffling, bro. And instead of just saying, actually, I don't know, I just have, stop, I'm almost done. Instead of just saying, I have faith and I just believe it to be true because the Bible says so, and I believe the Bible is true because of my life's experiences or whatever else gives you the reason to believe that God is real and the Bible is true. Instead of doing that, you're like bullshitting people, bro. And that's not okay. Okay.
So I'll give you.
If you want to be honest, be honest, bruh.
I'll give you your answer that you've been looking for this whole time.
No, I want your answer. Give me the reason why a soul exists. Epistemically, what justifies the metaphysical claim of a soul?
Okay, I'm gonna give you your answer you've been looking for this whole entire time.
No, I want the answer that you have.
Yes.
I don't want you to pad my ego, bro. I can do that myself. I want you to give me the answer that doesn't show that you're full of shit.
Right. Okay. Hope that made you feel better saying that. So I'm gonna give you a major premise, my minor premise, and a conclusion so you can have your answer. And if you can't go against my major premise, then what you say doesn't hold no weight. My major premise is that the justification for the soul, conscious experience exists. You know you're thinking, feeling, and aware. This is undeniable. My premise number 2 is that our conscious experience cannot be fully explained by physical matter alone. Atoms, neurons, and chemistry explain brain activity, but not what it's like to feel or experience. My conclusion, there must be something non-physical, something immaterial that is your consciousness. That's what we call the soul. That is my argument.
I refute your second premise. And 3, your conclusion doesn't follow from your 2 premises. To say that we have experiences and we have thoughts and feelings, and then number 2, to say that these thoughts and feelings have no physical bounds doesn't mean that we should automatically presuppose that a soul therefore exists. You're jumping to that conclusion instead of having the premises lead us to that conclusion. Right? You need like at least 1 or 2 more Hold on. You need 1 or 2 more. Hold on, bro. Hold on.
I literally did. You're just projecting emotions.
Hold on. No, I'm literally refuting your claims right now. Okay.
Not at all.
If I said we can see the sky and the rods in our eyes interpret the sky as being blue, therefore the sky is always blue, that doesn't follow, right? Because also the rods in our eyes can project other colors, and we understand that the rods in our eyes only interpret the colors that our rods in our eyes can
Yeah, so what do you think in the chat? Let me know your comments. I'll go through some of these right here. We got Roy Chess says evidence is always a physical thing. It will not work on something that is not physical.
We know that. We know that there are chemicals that are going, like very simply, we know that there are chemicals that are going off in our brain that tell us how somebody is feeling or thinking given any certain circumstance. So we do see the physicality of those things. Now, I can agree that, yeah, we don't know everything that there is to know about consciousness, but that doesn't automatically mean soul, right? You're jumping to that conclusion, and your conclusion doesn't follow from those 2 premises. Those are my 2 refutations.
Okay, so now my argument from what you just said is I explain matter of fact, I'll even explain what deduction is. Deduction is reasoning from general truths to a specific conclusion. Can we agree on that?
Sure.
Okay, my general truth was that conscious experiences exist and can't be fully explained by matter. My specific conclusion was therefore something immaterial, the soul, must exist. Deduction isn't guessing.
Could it be another reason?
Right. So deduction.
Could it be something else?
Okay, let me finish. Deduction isn't guessing.
I'm asking you a question. Could it be something else?
Let me show you how I structure my argument to show that it actually holds weight.
I understand what a deductive argument is.
Right.
I'm asking you.
What I'm saying is, you said
from a guy that didn't know what epistemological claims
I literally told you what it was.
I'm asking you. Could it be something else?
I told you what an epistemological, whatever, however you say it. I told you.
Yeah, you didn't know. I told you what it was. I'm sorry that you're so concussed.
I literally broke down.
But I'm asking you a very, I'm asking you a very basic question. Hey, bro. If you're scared, just say that. I'm asking you a very basic question.
Don't project. Emotional.
Could it be something else? Yes or no?
You said what?
Oh yeah. Now you don't know. Maybe stop interrupting me when I'm speaking. Could it be something else?
Stop projecting.
Yes or no?
What would be something else?
Oh God, now you don't even know where we're at in the conversation. Could the explanation for consciousness be something other than a soul?
I didn't hear could the what be the expert?
Okay. Zip your mouth while I make my claim again.
I mean, I did. It's just a phone.
Okay, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Shut your mouth while I'm speaking, please.
Okay, so
Good.
the way
That
you're
I'm
speaking to
sorry.
me
You
is
see,
not how I handle
you see
people.
how I'm speaking again, and then you're not going to be able to hear my claim. I'm
Because
telling
you
you that I'm
literally
strapped
project
for.
before.
Hey, bro. I'm strapped for time.
Because you're not
Please
gonna talk to
listen
me
to
like
me
that
while
and
I'm
expect me.
speaking. Hey, shut your mouth. I'm
You're
speaking.
not talking.
Okay. I have shit I need to do. And so I'm trying to get my argument out, but you're being childish right now and you're scared and you're running from the argument. If
You're
you
doing it
weren't
again.
scared, you would zip your trap. Okay.
Just
Could
because I
there
don't do what you
be?
say.
I'm gonna say my claim again, and if you missed it this time, I'm gonna fucking kick you out the live, motherfucker. Okay? Stop
I could
wasting
care less.
everybody's time. I told you that you need to either argue in good faith or get the shit out of here. Right? You're wasting my time again. My time is very valuable. I'm not gonna waste it on you.
Why have
Okay?
you?
So let me make my claim. My question to you is: could there be another explanation for a soul? I mean, for a soul, could there be another explanation for consciousness outside of a soul? I hope you heard my question for the fourth time.
I actually heard it this time.
Awesome. Good job.
Yes, there could be other explanations for consciousness outside of the soul. I say yes.
Great. So how did we deduce that it could only be a soul that's responsible for this?
Some people argue that consciousness is just the brain, nothing immaterial. That's called
Oh
physicalism.
God, bro.
Physicalism says that all thoughts, feelings, and awareness come from neurons firing. From their view, consciousness doesn't require a soul.
Okay. This is the foolishness that you were doing before, right? First of all, metaphysical claims is a philosophy.
So I'm gonna stop it right there. And Courtney,
Peace.
can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, how you feeling? How you feeling?
All right, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing today. Thanks for asking. Any comments or thoughts on what you just saw?
I came in at the end of that conversation. Like when I started commenting in the chats, that's when I jumped over here. But it's interesting. I wanted to know what she was about to get to because she was trying to, I guess, make a strong line in the sand between philosophical approaches and hard physical approaches. And yet I don't think you can isolate the two in order to describe either.
You know what? Let me go back real quick and let's see what they're. Oh, we got Roy Chess up here actually. Let's see what his thoughts and comments were first.
Hello, can you hear me? Peace.
Roy Chess, how you feeling?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thanks for asking. Thoughts and comments on the topic today.
So I didn't actually hear anything in the last 2 minutes because I was trying to come up. So what was the topic for that panel?
The topic for the panel was what happens if you lose free will, but they were going into the soul, evidence for the soul. That's the topic that they were sticking on right there.
Oh, okay, because it was a little bit confusing because if you're talking about that, those are not physical things. So asking for evidence for something that's non-physical doesn't make much sense. Right? So the reasoning is the issue. So what they were doing was putting science over everything. Like science is the God type of thing. Not to say it is a deity, but they worship it like a deity. Like it's a thing. Like you might as well have a statue and call it science and then worship.
Yeah, right. Like science was a physical object.
Yeah.
I see exactly what you mean.
Oh, his definition of deductive reasoning was off also. He's just reading a misinformation kind of definition, because that's like what you find online in a lot of books that are not written by experts in the field. So that's why it's not acceptable, because you could have a deductive argument without specific premises. You don't need general to specific. I can give you all general or all specific, and it would still be deductive.
Facts.
I mean, I think any appeal to a general thing is also an appeal to a specific thing in contrast to other things. So it is some semantics, but at the same time, we got to put it on the floor. We got to put it on the table to understand where everybody's coming at from in light of the question.
Yes, but deductive arguments are not based on content. Are you aware of that? It's based on format.
Right. I understand when you talk about deductive, like that is a formulative issue. I don't have any problem with that. It's not necessarily about the content. If you want to talk about content, then you're dealing more with soundness of a particular argument and and more than just validity. You're dealing with coherentness in light of what's being postulated to the given conclusion.
Well, no, that's not correct, because soundness doesn't apply to non-deductive arguments. Soundness only applies to deductive arguments. Inductive arguments do not have soundness. They are probability based. They are content based, and it never leads to an absolute conclusion.
Well, deductive arguments lead to more assured conclusions, sure. But there's been a lot of philosophers that have argued deductive arguments don't just do that. All forms of arguments can do that.
No. Deductive arguments are the only form of arguments that guarantee the conclusion if the premises are true.
Yes. But see, now you're talking about soundness. You're talking about the validity.
That's not soundness. That's not soundness.
Validity deals with premises being true or not. Soundness deals with the coherence of the given premises to the conclusion.
No, that's not correct. Validity has nothing to do with the truthness of the premises. I can give you all false premises and the argument will be valid.
Right, because I don't have a problem with that, because when you talk about validity, we're not talking about if it's actually deductively or inferentially true or inferentially sound. I don't have a problem with that. That's half of my point.
When you say sound, so in philosophy, that word usually has one meaning, and it's talking about an argument with all true premises, and the conclusion must be valid and also true.
Correct.
Right. So it's a combination of things. So
I agree.
Soundness doesn't just mean the statements are true.
I agree. They have to also cohere with each other in light of the inferences and what's being posited.
What do you mean by that? It's only format. It's not. It has nothing to do with
soundness.
Semantics.
Soundness doesn't have to deal with format. Soundness has to deal with the actual premises and how they demonstrate the conclusion and the validity, like the truthfulness. Okay. Can you give me some examples?
So format has to do with the validity. Soundness is just whether they apply to reality or not.
Right. If the form is true and like the premises are true and the conclusion necessarily follows in deductive arguments.
Right. But there's rules to it. Right. There are rules that apply to it. Right. It's not just about me reading the statements and then thinking to myself, is this true? Is this false? Is this true? Is this false? There are actually rules that are taught. It's a class that one must take to learn it. Right. Learning it from a book is kind of hard. You could kind of do it, but you're going to make mistakes. That's why you need an expert guide.
Yeah, I agree. You need someone more acquainted with the information in order to give you the nuances. I agree.
Right. So there are a lot of nuances that, like, without the training, the average person is not going to grasp right away. Some things you might grasp right away, but other things you will not grasp at all.
I got you.
So most of the debates that I've heard so far, none of them use deductive reasoning. Not one. Right. So, I think that it would enhance the debater's ability if they learn deductive reasoning and maybe include that sometimes in their debates. It would enhance their results.
Not trying to be doing that. I got you. Not trying to be too intrusive over your own personal experiences of watching debates, but you're talking about debates in the community, or you're talking about debates in general, like faith and non-faith debates?
No, debates in general, like on channels, like channels that have debates on them. I've seen a lot of them, and almost all of them are informal. None of them are deductive.
Okay.
I don't think that most people on those type of channels know the difference between deductive and inductive.
I agree, or abductive, or any of the other forms, structures of an argument. I agree. Okay. I have you ever seen a William Lane Craig debate or James?
Broken.
Have you ever seen or listened to a William Lane Craig debate or James N. Anderson discussion or debate?
William Lane Craig, I've heard of. Yes, I've seen some of his debates.
You don't think he's using or attempting to use deductive rationale, deductive logic?
For the most part, no. I
Okay.
mean, you can try to pass it off as deductive, but it's not deductive. I mean, deductive would literally mean that there are rules of inference being used that force the conclusion from the premises.
Right.
And you would have to know those rules of inference, and the average person doesn't know them.
Right, but William Lane Craig is someone who's double PhD in philosophy and theology. You don't? Are you suggesting he doesn't know?
I'm not suggesting he doesn't know. I'm suggesting that in debates, it's not often used because the audience probably won't be able to follow it, and they're not going to be able to say if he's right or not, or if the other person is right or not, deductively. So I think that most debaters are not using it for the most part.
I got you, because I normally do not argue, depending on the topic, depending on the issue, I know, and depending upon who I'm talking with, I normally do not argue deductively, necessarily. Like, I think you can construct. So, like, I would use more or less, like a Immanuel Kant, a Kantian type of assessment of things, but I'm not Kantian. But I do normally argue more or less on the basis of necessary presumptions that will make coherence or whatever being argued coherent. So it's not necessarily the deductive slightly. Let me just contrast this for you. William Lane Craig, he uses the Kalam cosmological argument. I think that is a deductive argument. All things that begin to exist, I don't even.
What happened? He fell off. He was kind of breaking up also as he was going. Are you there, A1? You muted?
Oh, I'm muted. Yeah, he said. I mean, he sounded clear on my end. He's back right here. Here we go.
Oh, okay. He was starting to break up as he went out.
Yeah, Roy Chess is on the panel, King Hurt.
Yeah, my bad. I don't know what happened. I was talking, it must have faded out. But yeah, William Lane Craig, he uses the Kalam cosmological argument. I have a lot of problems with the Kalam cosmological argument, not only with its structure, but what its intended force is intended to be. I don't think it actually demonstrates the point. So, but I do think that structured argument and the way he has formulated it is deductive in its format.
If it were 100% deductive, that means there's no way to avoid the conclusion if the premises are true. That is, if you accept the premises are true, you must accept the conclusion. You can't say I accept the premises but reject the conclusion. So if you can do that, that means it's not deductive, 100%. That means you're doing something else. You have something else in there, right? Because if I give you that, all men are mortal, you are a man, therefore you are mortal. If you accept my premises, you cannot reject the conclusion. You don't have an option to reject it. You have to concede to it.
Yeah, but like, for example, each premise needs justification before we get to the conclusion. So one rhetorical question to ask would be, in the barber syllogism you just gave, have we tested that all men are mortal? And so, like, just by means of the fact that has not been tested, or that Socrates was a man, the fact that at least one of those two premises haven't been tested and demonstrably proven, it's many more assumptions, inferences being linearly dragged along to the conclusion. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying, but the issue is this, that whether they are scientifically proven or not doesn't change the truth of the statements, right? So truth statements don't necessarily get their truth value once you become aware of them. That means if I make a statement to you and you don't know whether it's true or false, and then time passes and then you find out I was correct, what was the truth value of my statement?
But where in the physical sciences are they in? Do the physics telos into truth? Physics and naturalism, telos isn't truth. It's an explanation about what's occurred between physical interactions.
You're saying it's not a truth?
I'm saying that it's an explanation.
It's an explanation, but it's not telling you that it's true or not, is it?
Correct, no.
Okay,
and it doesn't seek to do that. It's only seeking to describe physical phenomena.
So when you ask whether the premises are true or not, what are you asking?
Oh, well, see, truth is an aspect of reality that I think is primarily conceptual. I do not think it is a physical. Truth isn't something physical. But I don't think we can even really have any discussion about objective reality outside of a conceptual framework. So before you even begin to do science, you have to assume so much. And ultimately, depending upon your worldview's foundations, some of those foundations might actually not be justified in order to demonstrate the conclusion.
So are you saying that science is not 100% accurate?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is self-evident in the science. Like if we were to calculate the speed of light, there is a range of error, human error in light of the calculation. And if we were to calculate, and like there's so many multifaceted aspects. If I'm calculating the distance of me from my physical bed right now, my physical person from my physical bed, I could also include that distance is constantly expanding or constantly shrinking just due to inertia and other physical properties of the universe. So with expansion, there's a very minor, or here's another example. It's a mathematical paradox. You know, if your hands are one foot apart from each other and you take half steps in order to clap them, how many half steps are necessary before they physically touch? The question is answered mathematically by means of an infinite number of half steps. So technically speaking, they would physically never collide. Because there's always going to be a half step between the initial starting point of both hands, one resting, one actually moving, or both moving together. There's going to be an infinite number of half steps before you actually reach the point of contact. And there actually will never be a point of contact for the clap.
So what are your thoughts of when people are asking for proof, like scientific proof of something? Because if science is not accurate like that, then why do they use the word proof?
I think it's more or less a rhetorical convention. Proof is really regulated to strict logic and mathematics to begin with. So when we're talking about scientific proof, you're adding something. You're adding physicality to a completely conceptual framework of assessments. And so that's going to create linchpins and problems when it comes to actually demonstrably, absolutely demonstrating something. And I don't think some things can be demonstrable, but again, you have to assume and agree to the given assumptions and steps to also agree with anybody's given perspective or your own on whatever is being observed or attempted to be demonstrated. So you have to have certain assumptions in order to just work out the argument and the data and then the conclusion or that conclusive explanation.
Are you talking about only science or all arguments altogether?
Primarily science. I'm trying to keep this, but it does have implications to non-scientific inquiries, non-physicalistic inquiries. Let me say it like that. You got to understand, and if you strictly were a philosopher and you were doing philosophy all day, every day, Graham Oppie, all of these philosophers, they say that they function as scientists. Because it's not merely a process of abstract thought, they actually do have the mathematics, many of them do have the mathematics and deductive modes of reasoning, even if you want to apply probability theory. It's all relevant. But again, probability isn't an absolute conclusion. It's a range. So there's no necessary input of force in a probability conclusion. For example, it's highly improbable that we actually exist today, right now. If we were to go back 1,000 years, it's highly improbable because we wouldn't know who would mate with who for whatever reasons, why, and if the union would actually produce an offspring. It's a very low, very, very minute probability, but yet we're here.
Yeah, well, most people will say science has some value because the probability is higher than what what reject, right? So if it's something like 90% possibly true, they will accept that if there's nothing better than that. So they'll accept any number greater than 0, right? So if the probability was 20% and they couldn't go higher, they would use that as, if the probability was 98% to 100, they would use that as the truth. Whatever number or percentage they have that they can max out at, that's what they're going to accept as true. So would you agree then that no scientific argument is deductive?
Would I agree no scientific argument is deductive? I don't know. I don't know.
That's what you said.
No, because deductive is about the form of the given presentation. It's not about the actual premises being true. It's about the form, the structure of the argument.
Right, but if the form, well, it's not just about the form, right? There's other things included in it, but form is probably one of the most prominent things that you're evaluating, right? The thing is, what makes something deductive is, do you have to accept the conclusion if the premises are true? It's not probable.
Logically, you should, yes, but see, now this is again, and so as soon as you get to that last portion, ought you agree to the conclusion in a deductive argument? You ought to, yes, you should, but again, that is not necessarily a physicalistic thing. That's a moral aspect in light of the application of the argument. So that's a new concept being brought into the assessment of the argument, which isn't actually part of the premises.
What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean by that.
Truth is an ethical value, a moral value. I don't think morals and ethicals, huh?
You say truth is a moral value?
Yes.
Why?
Because you should follow it.
Yeah, but there are different kinds of truth. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am, but you still should follow the truth.
No matter which kind?
Explain to me the modes of truth that you're articulating that should not be followed.
Well, for example, there are contingent truths. Now, contingent here means that the outcome does not always mean that it's true. Sometimes it can be false, right? So should you follow that? if I give you an example,
probabilistically, it would depend upon that mathematics. Like,
it will be probable, right? So, it also can change over time. That if I give you the same question now and 10 years from now, the answer might be different. So, what should you do?
My individual answer may be different, but the actual truth of the matter would remain the same. I don't see truth being changing in light of what its force is intended to be, which is adhered to.
So if someone makes a claim,
it's a moral or ethical force. Say that again.
If someone makes a claim, it's always going to be true?
No, a claim is just a claim. The claim has to be assessed.
No, a claim. So maybe I'm watering it down instead of using the proper terms because I don't want to confuse everybody. So if I have an idea, right, and I express that in words, that statement, if it's meaningful in the language I'm speaking, which is English, it's going to have a truth value. Would you agree with that?
No. It does not have an absolute truth value because, for all I know,
it doesn't have to have an absolute per se. I mean, you can disagree with that, but it will have a truth value.
Yes, like 1 or 0. If we're just going to basic truth table type proposition or assessments and proposition, sure, it would be something like that. Yeah.
So any meaningful statement will have that property, correct?
Of being true or false?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, so if that is the case, right, then why would in your concept of morality would truth change in some circumstances but not in others?
Yeah, because of situational paradigms. So I don't think any of these things are simply unilateral or just upon one plane. I think we need to understand these things from a multi-perspective assessment. So, like, for example, when I do ethical assessments or ethical judgments, I have a trifold, multi-perspectival means of assessing the situation. So I'll take the situational thing, the situational paradigm, the normative paradigm, and another paradigm in order to deduce what seems to be true.
So you use more than one method?
Yes.
Why?
Because it gives more sureness to the evidence's intent in light of the argument.
So I was going to ask you, are you a moral relativist? Because that's what it sounds like.
I'm not a moral relativist. That's why I said truth doesn't really change. It's always going to remain true. The situational thing, truth still is there. Like, yes, if I'm put in one situation or if I'm interacting, it's very much like the scientific process where you have your hypothesis, variables, and a constant. So the variables and constants are truthfully all functioning legitimately in light of those paradigms they're in light of those situational environments they're in. The assessment is going to allow for deduction about what's consistent. And that deduction of what's consistent is the scientific explanation of what we believe is actually physically happening.
Well, science doesn't use deduction, not fully.
I think you have to use deduction in science, like, because you can't. I think you can.
It's impossible because the conclusions are never going to be absolute. So that means it's impossible.
Well, we have already agreed that deductive arguments do not necessitate an absolute conclusion. So yes, I think you're negating that point of agreement that we already have.
We didn't agree to that.
Well, I thought we did. I'm sorry.
They absolutely do require absolute conclusions. Deductive arguments do, inductive arguments do not.
What? I mean, that's debated amongst philosophers.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
And logicians.
That's standard 101.
Yes, 101. I'm glad I'm talking about 202 and 504. Yes.
Yeah, but
The
you're not
introductory
going to
level is
violate
going to.
that rule. You can't violate that rule as you go up. That rule is never violated.
The whole point of philosophy is to engage in critical assessment of thought processes regarding whatever's being assessed.
But there's a methodology to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different forms. There's a lot of different modes. Again, we can ascertain truth without physical scientific demonstration. Mathematical truths, like 1+1, usually, and again, like this in and of itself, I'm taking so many assumptions in light of this assessment. All you got to do is change the decimal point or the decimal system, and then you would get a different conclusion. But in our modern application of basic arithmetic, 1+1 equals 2. That is a non-physicalistic conceptual reality because numbers do not exist. The numbers are representative of value, quantity, or an accounting. So the number 2 does not exist. The number 1 is not a physical thing. Now you can make it physical by drawing it on a board, pressing the keyboard button on your phone, keyboard, and then you can also make it disappear by deleting it, erasing it off your board, pressing the delete or backspace button. But yet, that truth of 1+1
about content.
I'm sorry?
This is why deductive arguments are not about the content.
This is exactly about content.
No, not what you just said.
It definitely is.
Why it's not about content.
I'm explaining why it's relevant to content, because 1+1 does not always equal 2 in mathematics. Again,
yeah,
it's based upon the assumptions you're bringing to the numbers and the assumptions you're bringing to the matter to begin with. And so, like, if we're using our modern construction of numerical, basic arithmetic numbers, mathematics, and we're not using, say, the Mesopotamian system for mathematics, where they're doing sexagesimal numbers or hexadecimal numbers, then or the base set, the base form, then you will get different mathematical equations depending upon the math.
Like, yeah, but you have to make the standard known. Like, you can't just say it in general. You would have to give up that information at the start of the discussion. You can't like bring it up halfway through the conversation. Oh, I'm going to use these rules now. You have to lay down the rules before you have the discussion, correct? So the details you start with is the details you're supposed to be working with. And then you should have an absolute conclusion if 1+1 is 2 or not, if you're specific enough.
I think that is the case. That's why in many situations, our modern arithmetic method is 1 is equal to. But
you're breaking up.
I mean, we could use tens instead of small. We could do tens, and then that would definitely be even more irreconcilable to. And again, like there's so many assumptions brought into these questions that ain't really being parsed out. And I think that's normal.
Assumptions, though, you shouldn't have the assumption. You should lay those out first.
But most mathematicians, for example, do not talk about what numbers are.
You can ask them to define it. If you're having the discussion, you can ask them to define it, and they will.
As a physical entity?
It doesn't have to be a physical entity. I think normally they do. They do talk about the idea, and then they bring it into reality. Yes. It is an idea, right? Numbers are an idea, but you can't bring those numbers into reality, and they normally do that.
So I'm a semi-Platonist. So I don't have a problem with abstract. I'm a conceptual realist. Certain, like if you're looking at a pencil, I'm talking about a pencil we do not have to have the very same object in our physical presence in order to discuss the physical objects. And by the way, talking about a pencil, is there some type of physical property that has weights inside of our firing that is a pencil? Is it located inside of our physical brain for us to have this conversation? Like, this is part of the reason why I am Freudian. Sorry for introducing philosophical teachers and philosophers to the audience without a fuller background, but look these people up. Freudian philosophy is a semi-Pelagian, Pelagic philosophy. Plato had this idea where there were abstract realities outside of us that were there, but they're outside of us. They're somewhere, they're outside of us, but they're real. And I agree to much of that. It's just the way he parses it out. I don't necessarily agree to Plato. I agree more with Frege than I do with Plato. And this is still within the conceptual framework that I'm defending, or that I adhere to. Again, my foundational worldview, which is Christianity. I think it only makes sense within this conceptual framework.
Well, Frege was one of the founding fathers of what is now called mathematical logic, and that is deductive reasoning. But you seem to be having some issues with what you define as deductive and what it does.
I don't have
like
issues
you mentioned morality before. You said truth was a part of morality.
Yeah.
And usually that's not what Frege would say, right? So Frege would say it's a truth value. It doesn't have to do with morality. Like, if you want to say the proper term I'd be using is a proposition, and propositions are usually going to be defined as either true or false if they're meaningful in a language, right? So it has nothing to do about beliefs or morality. It's just a value that we assign to it, assigned to that statement in reality.
I'm glad you brought up proposition. So, and the fact Frege is one of the founders of logical positivism. But yeah, so would you say, man, I just forgot what I was about to ask. I'm sorry for cutting you off, beloved. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So propositions are simply the ideas. They're not, I think we discussion, not you and I, but I came on the panel before, and there were people that were unsure what propositions were. They confused propositions with statements, propositions with sentences. Those are not interchangeable. Now, people do use them interchangeably, but technically they're not interchangeable. And the reason why people do that is just to make the conversation easier. But technically speaking, if we want to play pedantic semantics, they are three different things. Propositions are not sentences. They are not statements. And sentences are not propositions, and statements are not propositions, and all statements are not sentences, and all sentences are not statements, and vice versa.
But see, now we're getting into language philosophy of language.
Well, no, those are just the basic foundation terms. It's not necessarily the semantics per se. I haven't even gone deep into that yet. That's just
philosophy of language. Philosophy of language. It's a semantical discourse. I think they're in a philosophical way and attempting to be scientific in their articulations. Are you familiar with P.F. Strawson?
I've heard of him. I'm not too. I can't say I'm too familiar with him, so I can't quote him or anything like that. But you would have to remind me of some things.
P.F. Strawson can be one of the hardest philosophers to understand in the last century. He was very influential, very smart if you ask me. His son doesn't really agree to his philosophical metaphysics, but I do in general. Look, Strawson's a very tough read, but he's very enjoyable if you like reading philosophy. So without diving too much into Strawson, I would just suggest you get his metaphysics book, and you might enjoy it.
Okay, I've heard of it, but I'm not that familiar with it.
I
I'm
got
gonna
you.
have to look that up, Courtney.
I can
Appreciate
send it
that
to you.
source right there.
I can. I'll send it to you, A1.
Appreciate you. About to go to closing statements. I have a show coming up in about 3 minutes with
Mm-hmm.
More Media. She has a panel, Men versus Accountability. So make sure you come check that out.
Is it on this channel or is it somewhere else?
On this channel right here.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So you can hop on or, run the comments up. Real quick, let me go to a word from our spot. Let's do closing remarks. Then I'll go to a word from our sponsors and close.
No
Start with you,
problem.
Roy Chess.
Yeah, well, thank you for allowing me to come up. I think we drifted off a little bit off the topic from what the video we were watching, the panel was saying, but the whole point where I came up was about the always asking for evidence and proofs in science and things like that. That's a little bit problematic because if inductive reasoning does not give absolute conclusions, then why do people rely on it? And I don't think they know much about deductive reasoning. That's why they do it, right? So if you knew about the difference between what makes something inductive and what makes something deductive, your argument skills can go to a higher level than just using the inductive material only. So it requires more conceptual understanding than just science. So ideas are big in deductive reasoning. And it's not just what you could see, what you could hear, what you could taste, touch, your five senses. So it's more intellectual than just the physical. So that's one of the reasons why I think we're having this discussion now and why we're highlighting some things here in this discussion. And I'll just leave it at that. I think that we should have some more reasoning things on the channel or something like that so that people will understand the difference between deductive and inductive and stop making mistakes, calling out fallacies that are not really fallacies or have been committed fallacies. I hear that a lot, that people just throw fallacies out there and they're not even the fallacies that they say they are. So I think that maybe we should do something to clear that up. Maybe we do a panel or something so that maybe somebody could present the proper information and get some things cleared up so that people's skills can rise. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me come on the panel. I appreciate. What's your name, brother? Royce?
Roy Chess.
Roy. Okay. I appreciate the brother Roy Chess being on the panel. I appreciate you, A1. Everybody like, comment, and subscribe, share, push this content wherever you at. I agree. We should have further conversations because I like these type of conversations a lot more than some of these other conversations we have. But yeah, I think I like Royce's idea. We should have more panel discussions about this stuff. A1, one person I think would be very, very fun to have in one of these conversations. So we might have to set that up. I'm gonna holler at him too, without saying names. But yeah.
Yep, bring him on your show so that way we can get it rolling. Appreciate you, big dog. And with that being said, this was just something random I did just to kill some time. I just popped up a video from my homegirl's page and let some people hit the panel. Appreciate you two gentlemen. Go to a word from our sponsors and everybody have a beautiful rest of the night. Check back in here in 3 minutes for the episode 3 or 4 of More Media, Men versus Accountability. Let's pause the noise for a second, because if you're still here right now, you're already different. Not everyone gets this. Not everyone understands real debate, real scholarship, real intellectual smoke. But you do. This is Coliseum of Arguments. This is Titans Debate League. And what happens here doesn't survive on algorithms. It survives on the people who believe in it. When you support through Cash App, you're not just donating. You're fueling the arena. You're the reason we can bring in high-level guests. You're the reason reason we keep unbiased judges. You're the reason these debates stay sharp, fair, and uncompromised. This platform is built by thinkers, sustained by supporters, protected by the ones who know value when they see it. If this show has ever sharpened your mind, has ever entertained you, or has ever challenged what you thought you knew, then Cash App is how you say, keep this going. Not everyone contributes, but the ones who do, they're part of what makes this real. Coliseum of Arguments, Titans Debate League, powered by the people who get it.
My heart is bleeding in a pool of blood, I'm drowning. Yeah, my heart is bleeding in a pool of blood, I'm drowning. I look in the mirror now.
In peace. Have a good night.